Radiant team ban. Ten seconds remaining. 5 seconds remaining. Dire team ban.
Alright folks, and welcome back to Beyond the Summit 2, and we are going to take a look at Game 2 between ErH and NA. Unfortunately, we do not have the little pips explaining who won the first game, but it was ErH. So, in the first game, ErH just using what was, in my opinion, a bit of a more solid strategy. Overall, just a little bit more viable. They went with a tri-lane of a Gyrocopter, Shadow Demon, Jakiro, mid of a Dragonet, and a Darkseer on the off lane, and rather, I should say, on the safe lane. And they were just able to win 2 lanes, draw the third, and just completely control NA Gaming's attempt at a tri-core strategy built around Alchemist and Kunkka. Unfortunately, neither the Alchemist nor the Kunkka were able to find much in the way of farm, and so NA Gaming were just dominated before they could bring their Tricore into play. They really only got farm on Juggernaut, perhaps falling victim to a little bit of a greedy draft. They tried to secure too many of their cores too early, and maybe they paid for that, as they really, when you're getting pushed to a tier 3 and your Kunkka just has an urn and phase boots, it just isn't enough, and they weren't able to make anything happen. Maybe couldn't get the supports that they wanted to as well, running with somewhat of an unorthodox Silencer and Witch Doctor who didn't really synergize that well together. But enough about the past, let's talk about the future. NA Gaming still having quite a bit of a shot to advance throughout this group. This is the ECL. The group stage for Group C begins today. We've already played out Groups A and B. So some teams are already done for their group stage, and some teams are still playing. We do have NA Gaming and ErH today. We will also have Orange versus Rising Stars, which will be played out just after this best of 3. So around 8 o'clock Beijing time. If you're in the US, that's about 7 Central, 4 a.m. Pacific. And if you're in Europe, that's about 13... Sorry, no, that'll be 8 Central, 5 a.m. Pacific, and if you're in Europe, that's about 1400 CEST, Central European Summer Time. So, that'll definitely be a huge game. I'm very excited to see Orange versus Rising Stars. But for now, we're going to keep watching this game, and one of the things that excites me about this tournament is we get a chance to really see a lot of Chinese teams that we typically have absolutely no opportunity to understand, and really check out, you know, what makes them tick. Who are the promising teams? Who are the future champions? Who are the future stars that we're going to see? And already some fantastic play has been coming out from, honestly, from both these teams. NA, even though they had a very tough first game, Nikki on the Juggernaut had some great solo kills, some good positioning, some even good split pushing as well. And ErH, I mean, KMM was extremely convincing on Jakiro. Fantastic ice path positioning, just synchronizing with his team incredibly well. In fact, if I had to say one thing that I really like about Enjoy Relics Happiness, I wonder if they meant relax. Maybe they mean Relics. I won't second guess them. One thing that I like about Enjoy Relics Happiness is that they do seem to operate as a good team unit. Like, they know when to 5-man, they know when to split up. They know when to try to group gank, and they know when not to. And honestly, their group ganking was very, very good, except for the very beginning. At first, it was a little bit of thorniness between Shadow Demon and Jakiro, as they weren't timing their 2 primary disables properly. But now they're doing a lot better, frankly. They're able to coordinate quite a bit. So, let's look at the draft now. Rubik and Jakiro picked up for NA Gaming. You can see that they are not ones to make the same mistake twice. If they didn't secure supports up for themselves early enough in the draft in the previous round, this time they're going to secure them mighty quick. The Rubik already coming out, the Jakiro. It's been a while since we've seen Rubik as a first pick. I mean, this is a guy who used to get just immediately snapped up after the ban phase around International 2 times. Now we see Rubik more often as a response to, for instance, if the other team has very strong teamfight ultimates that you want to take. But that said, he's a very, very strong support. He's got good overall usefulness. Very, very versatile in terms of what he can bring to a team. And what he also provides is a setup stun. So, of course, Rubik can Telekinesis, and Jakiro can Ice Path on top of it to generate quite a bit of stun combo that'll be effective. ErH, on the other hand, securing up the Shadow Demon and the Clockwork for themselves. That gives them one of their two supports, where NA has both their supports, and one of the strongest off-lane options of the game. Clockwork, of course, a hero that, there's a great essay about him on teamliquid.net if you're interested. I can't remember who wrote it, but whoever it is, they did an absolutely excellent job. Just talking about the strengths of Clockwork, what he really brings to the table. I think it was my friend K-Poptosis, actually, the stat man on Shiver Gaming, if you watch that stream. But Clockwork, he's just a huge hero. He's been around the entire scene. Cogs, of course, was mildly nerfed. They will no longer push back magic immune targets, but we're talking about a pretty minor nerf there, as much as people said that it might be high impact. It's not that it's not high impact, it's just that Clockwork is still amazing. And second phase, ErH once again secures the gyrocopter up for themselves. This is the second game in which they've had that gyrocopter, most likely running him once again in that hard #1 role. He does need quite a bit of farm to actually make that transition from early game magic DPS to late game physical DPS from the Flak Ganon. In the first game, we saw Az playing the gyrocopter, making that transition more or less perfectly. I mean, he was able to use the Rocket Barrage very effectively early on and just transition later. NA, meanwhile, taking the TA and the Chaos Knight. So, Chaos Knight is an interesting choice, of course. There's no room in this composition for the IO. So it's just going to be what I like to call a casual Chaos Knight, where you know that you're not going to have that IO pair, and you just use him primarily as a stun bot in a mid-game. Now, NA, this does put a ceiling on their effectiveness in some respect relative to the gyrocopter. At a certain point of farm, if gyrocopter is able to get it, I just see ErH taking over this game completely, because Chaos Knight, he is able to scale to the late game in some respects. There are items he can pick up, but he struggles mightily to actually farm. So he's a very, very bad flash farmer as far as carries go. He doesn't have many tools to actually clear through waves quickly. So that might actually limit the Kunkka's effectiveness, the Chaos Knight's effectiveness in the late game. Early game, of course, this is a terrifying tri-lane. They've got stuns coming from everybody. They've got Telekinesis, they've got Ice Path, they've got Chaos Bolt. They can position somebody favorably with Reality Rift. They can slow them with Dual Breath. And, I mean, it's going to be a very, very difficult tri-lane to stand against, at least early, if they can maintain their mana. Chaos Knight, very mana-intensive hero. But if they do that, I mean, this is a tri-lane that really is going to be tough for ErH to stand against. Now, looking towards ErH's lineup, they do take the Kunkka, so our mid-matchup more or less determined. It's going to be Kunkka against Templar Assassin. Now, Templar Assassin, a hero with a ton of damage potential. She can really tear through an entire team if she so desires. That said, I am concerned. It's going to be an execution check and positioning on the TA's part, because Clockwork is a hero that can really punish the Templar Assassin. If he is able to hookshot her at the beginning of a fight, you can basically write off your TA as participating in that fight. She's going to have a very difficult time using her Psy Blades to cleave. Like, she won't be hitting that many people with those Psy Blades. It just really won't happen. Her refraction can be chewed through extremely quickly by either Battery Assault or Rocket Barrage coming from Gyrocopter. In lane phase, she's in a little better shape. She can beat most melee heroes with a pure damage bounce of the Psy Blades. Just harass that Kunkka quite a bit. That said, Kunkka will be able to get his Druthers in as well. He has this Tidebringer to deal, if he melees her in the Tidebringer procs, I mean, that's 2 stacks of refraction. He doesn't have a big damage over time ability. He really just has, he has Torrent, he has Tidebringer. So I think TA is going to have a fine middle lane. The Alchemist really struggled against the Dragon Knight in the last game, but I expect the TA to do better against the Kunkka. But I do think ErH have sort of a pretty good lineup in the sense that they have a plan at all stages of the game. Most likely, I would expect us to see Clockwork just going up against this tri-lane if he can. It's a very dangerous lane for Clockwork, but it's just as much of a dangerous lane to attempt to try. NA, once again, you can see their ban strategy at work. They take out Leshrac and Lina in response to someone picking a Shadow Demon. This time they banned them out a little later than they did last time, but nonetheless they take out both of those follow-up stuns and secured a third follow-up stun, the Jakiro, for themselves. And then they actually take Dragon Knight, so this is an interesting choice. We may see something like Dragon Knight in the solo safe and then an aggressive tri-lane. So you would have DK against Clockwork. Interesting lane, not one I've seen that many times before. But that is certainly an option. Another one would be DK mid, Templar Assassin in the solo safe. I would actually much prefer to see TA mid. I think that DK has really, his star has fallen a little bit as a mid-hero. I feel that the Bottle Croak nerf really hurts him, and I'm not sure how well he'll do against Kunkka. Not terribly, but I really think TA will do better against Kunkka, and Dragonite will do better against Clockwork than the alternatives.
10 seconds remaining.
Nonetheless,
5 seconds.
NA Gaming clearly showing their preference here for the Tricore. Ancient Apparition, huh. Interesting. So Ancient Apparition, a hero that people usually want to provide a setup stun for. So there's this concern when you have the Ancient App of, will we... Sorry about the lag, folks. That always happens on my system. It's right during this pick phase that we do get that burst of lag. I apologize. We should have a fine performing stream afterwards. I gotta turn off this HUD. This is becoming an issue. So, we'll talk about the teams more in just a second. Let's go ahead and introduce them. On ErH, they've taken out Game 1. I know that there are no pips for game wins up here. It's just a little bit of an oversight on the part of the lobby admins. That's okay, because I can tell you out loud that it will be ErH seeking to take this series out 2-1, and NA seeking to catch up. Looking at ErH's lineup, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, reprising his role from Game 1 on the Shadow Demon. He will be joined in the tri-lane by Az on the Gyrocopter, and where is their fifth? KMM on the Ancient Apparition. And then YR will be on the offlane as the Clockwork, and Yang piloting the middle as the Kunkka. We saw his Dragonite last game. It was very impressive. Can his Kunkka shape up? And when the same thing as last game happens, Radiant piercing S5 into the Dire jungle to try to get a first blood, Dire going S5 into the Radiant jungle, NA even using a smoke to do so, but unfortunately, they won't find anybody out. NA's team, Sweet JJ on the Templar Assassin, Dr. K on the Dragonite, so maybe this reflects Dragonite mid and Templar Assassin solo safe, but we'll have to see. By the way, these are nice cosmetics. Dragonite with a cool little sword there. TA looking mighty nice herself. And then the tri-lane, Farewell on the Rubik, Lee on the Dragon, on the Jakiro, and Nikki on the Chaos Knight. So 3 dragons for Triple Dragon on ErH last game, Triple Dragon on NA this game. We'll have to see if this becomes a trend for the RedBull ECL League. I, of course, have not gotten to spectate as much of this league's previous rounds as I may have liked to, but I'll make sure to do my homework before the next time I cast it, I promise. Nonetheless, of course, this is our inaugural game of Group C. I should say our inaugural match, because, of course, we've already had 1 game. So this Ancient Apparition, I meant to talk about this. Actually, hold that thought. Farewell. There's the Cold Feet. There's the Disruption. Cold Feet will almost certainly proc that. Rubik is locked down. There's the Rocket Barrage, and an easy first blood for ErH in this game. Just right off the bat, picking up that Rubik and getting a quick kill on the board. There's the combo. Put the Cold Feet up, disrupt when they try to get away, Cold Feet procs, and Gyrocopter can do his dark work. Looking up at the lanes, NA actually, the Rubik just there to ward. He will now head towards the bottom. An aggressive tri-lane coming out from the Chaos Knight, the Rubik, and the Jakiro. Now, Rubik and Jakiro pretty strong. Both of them are strong heroes against Clockwork because both of them can interfere with him inside of his little Cog's house. Of course, the Rubik, he's able to lift Clockwork out of Cogs and place him nearer to your team, and Jakiro is able to stun Clockwork as well as hit him with the spells inside his Cogs. Nonetheless, Clockwork doing a good job so far. He used Cogs Harassment to take away a little bit of Chaos Knight's mana, so as long as Chaos Knight isn't actually able to stun and Reality Rift, the Clockwork will feel very comfortable in this lane. So he's going to continue doing that. I mean, you're going to see Clockwork doing that harass, and actually a rotation coming from NA. Maybe they want to make something happen top as they're concerned that Dr. K won't be able to stand up to this lane. They did end up running that the Dragonite solo safe, the Templar Assassin mid, so no tremendous surprise in the lanes. That's more or less what we would expect. Sweet JJ doing okay in the middle here, only 2 last hits oddly enough, but he does have 8 denies, so he's taken away a bit of XP from Yang, although Yang frankly picking up his 7th deny as well. So a game of denies in the lane here. 2 supports rotated over, Farewell and Lee, they want to pick off Az. He's running as fast as his little Gyrocopter rotors can take him. The Ice Path does not land, the Telekinesis comes through, there's the Dragon Tail. Do they have enough damage? It seems like they might with the Breathe Fire. Yes! They pick up a kill. Gyrocopter actually killed by creeps, but that'll do. And the supports of ErH had actually left try to make a kill happen in the middle lane. And so they were caught somewhat flat-footed, I have to say, by that gank opportunity. Here they come over to where Dr. K is, but it's already a little bit late. Gyrocopter has already taken a fall, and NA evening up the score, not wanting to get as behind last game as they were this game. But here's YR. Oh, the damage he's dealing to Nikki is actually tremendous. He can continue chasing. One more proc will do it. Doesn't matter. He melees him down. And Clockwork, now in the 1v1 lane, Clockwork is not really going to have that much of an issue with Chaos Knight, because Chaos Knight has no way to escape the clock if he puts him in a cogs trap. You can see YR now taking an extremely aggressive posture. He's got rank 3 in Battery Assault. This is the absolute maximum DPS Clockwork build that you can possibly get. If he puts Chaos Knight in a pair of cogs, and there's no creeps around to defray the Battery Assault damage, it's going to be tremendously difficult for Chaos Knight to actually survive. Nikki might have a far harder time than he had in the first game. Just look at this Clockwork. 12 last hits already, actually topping the board for farm, higher than one of the Gyrocopters at. Now, Chaos Knight's farming, but he's certainly not getting an advantage in this lane. In the middle lane, it's become basically even. Kunkka and Templar Assassin both farming respectively well. There's the Torrent, but I doubt anything comes of this. Sweet JJ actually uses Meld, but he doesn't use the Meld Strike, so that's unfortunate. A little bit of extra mana usage there. Going to have to continue Bottle Crowing. I mean, it's really something we're going to see both these players doing in this lane. Bottle Crowing as much as possible, getting extra spell casts out. For the Kunkka, it's all about that Torrent and maybe even X. He has leveled that X to 2 already. That lower mana cost making this a much more viable approach to ensuring that you land your Torrents. Excuse me. Forgot to hydrate last game, so I'm trying to make up for lost time now. Battery Assault used for Clockwork, just for a bit of harass. Nikki will not be brought down by this, but he is going to be warded off a little bit. I mean, he's scared. He's scared to peel off. Oh, actually, gank coming into the mid. Farewell lifts up Yang. Here comes the bottle to give him a little bit of health. I don't think Sweet JJ can take advantage of this. Meanwhile, Clockwork once again harassing Chaos Knight. Now, Chaos Knight has enough mana for at least the Chaos Bolt. That'll keep Clockwork off his back a little bit. But nonetheless, Nikki's still having to be exceedingly careful in this lane. And the rotation from Farewell, not really able to make that much happen there, unfortunately. Kunkka, there actually he does land the Torrent. I mean, even without the use of X marks the spot, so nice job of just continuing to slow this Templar Assassin and trying to get an advantage in this lane. But this really is, this mid lane is a slugfest. Look at these extremely similar denies. They're actually keeping each other's XP much lower than you would expect at this point in the game. Meanwhile, if we look at the top, NA, Dr. K just had his Soul Ring built, and he's going to have that delivered. Just wants a little bit of sustain, the ability to consistently breathe fire in this lane. Now that this is basically a tri-lane Dragon Knight, he's really have to make sure that he gets as much farm as possible. And for the second game in a row, we don't really see their safe lane farmer getting that much. I mean, he's 9 for 0, but Gyrocopter 19 for 4. This is a tri-core lineup, the second in as many games for Never Alone. And the thing about a tri-core lineup is you got to make sure all 3 cores can get development. And for the second game in a row, at least at the 6-minute mark, it doesn't seem as if all 3 will. The Chaos Knight doing fine. They've improved their position, don't get me wrong. In the first game, they had barely had 1 farmer. In this game, they have 2, Chaos Knight and Templar Assassin. But Dragon Knight, it's still a little bit of struggles for him. Farewell and Lee trying to rotate over. They actually have a pincer position on YR here, but do they know that they have a pincer position? The vision's not there. Meanwhile, Sweet JJ, here comes the gank attempt on him. Cold Feet, they don't have a disruption. He may still walk away from this. The Vortex comes through. He actually is safe in this, sitting in this meld. They don't have detection. And Clockwork actually managing to get another kill on Chaos Knight. So this Clockwork is absolutely cleaning up. I mean, he's really taking a superior position. We talked about how, you know, Chaos Knight really isn't going to escape from that Battery Assault, and he's not. I mean, now it's rank 4. Chaos Knight level 6, 2 levels behind in this lane. X marks the spot. The Torrent on Sweet JJ. 2 stacks of Shadow Poison already. They decide not to pursue. NA bringing their 2 supports over, and now it's become 3 versus 3 in the mid. Mid tri-lanes facing off against each other. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and KMM on one side, and Sweet JJ and company on the other side. They continue to try to rotate, so that's one thing. Restless supports on both teams in this game. I mean, they really aren't content with just staying in one place. And in my opinion, this is exactly what NA need to do. I mean, they absolutely need to make sure that they can try to tip the scales in almost every lane. For Nikki to catch up at this point is going to require the intervention of some supports. Keep in mind they don't have vision, but YR smells a rat. He's going to try to cogs out. There's the Reality Rift. That's very, very nice. Torrent comes through. Here comes the boat. It hits on 2. Nikki is stunned. Lee is stunned. Clockwork is not. He's going to kill Lee. He may get Nikki as well if he continues chasing. He decides not to. They're just going to go for farewell. He still has the rockets available. Oh no, Nikki walks right into this 3-second stun. Torrent will miss. Kunkka with the tiebreaker. Will the rocket pick this up? It just gets one. The Chaos Knight will walk away, but the two supports do not, and a 5-1 kill advantage for ErH already in this game. And that's unfortunate. NA rotating both supports over to try to make that happen, to try to get an advantage there. And Clockwork, I mean, this has just been a fantastic game for YR. He's now 3-0-1, 1,400 gold sitting on. Probably his tier 2 boots if he wants Arcanes, if he wants Phase, he can have them. He tries to snipe the Chaos Knight, but it's way too late, man. You lost your chance. Maybe if he had done a rocket that would have hit like here, like pointed at here with the CK and the Rubik. The problem here is you run the risk of missing both, so instead he went just right here and it missed the CK. But he did kill the Rubik, so 5-1. I mean, I'm certainly not second-guessing YR's game here. He has had a fantastic time. And Gyrocopter, I mean, he's very comfortable going toe-to-toe with the Dragon Knight at this point, now that this tri-lane was secured. Dragon Knight really just last hitting with the Soul Ring. You don't see him doing much of anything else, just sitting back. Gyrocopter now 36 for 15, Dragon Knight 18 for 0. And you can see, not even ultimate up for Dr. K at this stage, which is really not what you want. I mean, you'd really like to have that ultimate available if possible. Yang, meanwhile, continuing to plug away in the middle. He's the lowest farming of ErH right now, of these core heroes, which is, I mean, it's okay, frankly, because he is still 28 for 15. The TA, I mean, XP's now behind because the supports have spent a little more time here, but doing just fine, frankly. I think Sweet JJ having a much more comfortable game this time than he had on the Kunkka in the last game, and so they have to be happy about that because there's not much else that NA are going to be satisfied with currently. They are behind about 3k gold, 3k XP, by no means an insuperable situation, something that they could easily come back from, but nonetheless concerning. What's also concerning to me is just how much time Jakiro and Rubik have had to spend roaming, time in lanes, time hanging around the middle, with almost nothing to show for it. You can just see they're already behind one level on KMM and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, simply because they found far less success actually participating in kills. Just a solo smoke for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He wants to make this happen with the Shadow Demon. Now NA, they are rotating over as well, a little bit later though. Here he comes, here's the Shadow Demon. He doesn't have his tier 1 boots, so keep in mind his movement speed fairly slow, 295. There's the disruption. He does not have Soul Catcher. We've seen 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, here's the call down. There's the Rocket Barrage. My god. He hardly needs Soul Catcher. That Dragon Knight dropped like a rock. You'd think Dragon Knight wasn't a tanky hero with how quickly he actually went down there. Wow, hitting the skids. And meanwhile in the middle, Clockwork once again rotating. Some damage done to both Yang and YR, but unfortunately, every time the supports leave, ErH take advantage of it. And another 2 kills in 2 different lanes there for this team. And ErH right now just frankly looking stronger. I think a little bit of a case of outplay so far in this game. Clockwork, excellent hook shot, managing to get some work done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and KMM, we now see them rotating bottom, and we may just see these supports trying to out-level their opponents. That's actually pretty smart if they can get to 6 quickly. I mean, 3 on the Ice Vortex already for Ancient Apparition. Once it gets Ice Blast, that's going to be a very dangerous combination that can be targeted anywhere on the map. Well, the Ice Blast can, the Ice Vortex is just long range. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'm sure he wants his purge as well. Meanwhile, Rubik, I mean, struggling. Not even level 4. Nowhere near that spell steal. Jakiro, level 4. This is okay, honestly. They're going to try to chase Dr. K. He does have that ultimate, but it's on cooldown. Here's YR, actually. He's stunned up. Reality Rift the stun. Here comes the call down. There's the torrent. There's the boat. Oh, my lord, that's painful. 10-1 now for ErH. Just their combo exceeding anything NA could throw, and even when NA chooses to initiate, it's just hopeless for them. There's the Ice Path, lands on 1. YR actually fairly low. He may need to disengage. He's still got the hook shot if he wants. There's the stun. They're going to lock Sweet JJ down. This Clockwork continuing to just do massive work. Here comes the Cogs. Doesn't even need it. Kunkka with the Tidebringer to finish it off. KMM taking a little bit of that tower aggro, so the Clockwork makes it out alive. And there's actually the GG. A GG within 12 minutes for NA, and I'm sure they're feeling a little demoralized after this game because the first game they hung on, but honestly, after that team fight, when you select team fights and NA initiating in 2 separate fights there, and both of them just cause you to get destroyed, I mean, it's a very, very bleak proposition for you. I mean, NA, they had better lanes in this game, in my opinion. They maybe didn't. They maybe thought that the Dragon Knight would be facing a Clockwork in the top, and unfortunately he wasn't. It was an aggressive tri-lane coming out, Clockwork solo safe, and they could never find a lane configuration that quite sat well with them. The Rubik and the Jakiro were constantly rotating. They tried to make something happen in every lane, didn't succeed no matter where they went, whereas the Shadow Demon and the Ancient Apparition seemed to just strike gold wherever except the mid. And so even with better farm, that just became a tale of Clockwork outmuscling Chaos Knight. I mean, we said the Dragon Knight matchup was okay for the Dragon Knight's sake, but Chaos Knight not so. The 3v1 would have been fine, but unfortunately Chaos Knight not able to 1v3, forcing the Rubik and Jakiro to just get out of their comfort zone quite immediately. And so NA, a promising team in some respects. I do think that they have some talent, but here just outclassed, frankly, by ErH. And the ErH looking good in both of these games so far. Solid strategies, unsurprising drafts. They remind me a lot of Tong Fu, frankly. The Ancient Apparition a little bit speculative, but other than that, very, very Tong Fu-ish drafts. You could just imagine how being on this gyrocopter and then Mu on the Clockwork. I mean, the Keens and Machines strat that we talk about, and Kunkka, another hero, Tong Fu. Not as much as LGD, but they like playing this hero, so ErH looking quite impressive so far. NA, we still have to be convinced in a future game from them. Thank you so much for watching, folks. This is the ECL Red Bull League 2013 coverage on Beyond the Summit 2. Just signed on to cover this event, so Group C, the group stage, will be covered by us. I will be covering it today, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm not 100% sure about tomorrow. We'll have to see how that works out. I am Vikramond. You can check me out Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. I also have a website, VYKROMOND. Thanks so much for watching so far. This is the end of the best of 3 between ErH and NA. I will keep you updated if the schedule changes, as our next round is not scheduled to begin for 1 hour and 45 minutes. That said, we could have it start ahead of schedule depending on, what happens. Maybe if they bring the teams early, we could get an earlier start on that. Nonetheless, that will be Orange versus Rising Stars, so even if y'all do go watch, DreamHack or Dota Super League, which I don't hold against you in any way, shape, or form, I do hope you'll come back and check us out for the Orange versus Rising Stars game in Group C later this morning, later this afternoon, later this evening, depending on where in the world you are. I'm Vikramon, this is Beyond the Summit 2, ECL coverage, Group C. Thanks for watching, be back in a bit.